Hey guys, Drifter here. Welcome to Black Ops 3 In Depth. In today's episode, we're going to be reviewing the Man-O-War Assault Rifle. This is by far one of the most popular weapons in Black Ops 3 right now, right up there with M8A7. And even though it's very popular, I'm going to have some negative things to say about it because I find this weapon to be somewhat overrated, and it has some secret stealth nerfs and some bad handling attributes that the vast majority of you don't know about. But first, I have a small correction from a previous episode. In the last episode on the ICR1, I said the 4-shot range was 19 meters. It was actually 38 meters. I did a little mathematical goof. I apologize there, but no, that 4-shot range is 38 meters, which is actually significantly better. So sorry about that. Just wanted to make the correction, and I'll try to make less mistakes moving forward. So let's talk about the Man-O-War. It'll deal 40 damage up close and decrease to 30 damage at a distance. That's either 40 or 30, not like a linear drop. It's like a stair step, and that is very high for assault rifles. As a matter of fact, in the game code, it's referred to as assault rifle _ damage. So this is designed to be the high damage powerhouse assault rifle for Black Ops 3, with the exception of the Shiva because that's semi-auto, but we'll get to that later. What that means is that it takes either 3 or 4 shots to kill depending on your range, but the gun has good range, and especially with long barrel, so it's usually going to be 3 shots to kill. Not too often will you actually need 4 shots to kill unless you're shooting through a surface or using a silencer or something like that. And you're probably wondering what the 3-shot kill range is, because that's the best way to judge weapons. You know, there are shots to kill over different ranges. The 3-shot kill range is actually the same as that ICR 4-shot kill range, which is 38 meters. That is a very good range. It's an impressive range, and it is a very respectable 3-shot kill range. However, if you run long barrel, that'll bump up to 72 meters, which is a pretty bonkers bananas range, and you will, if you're running long barrel on the Man-O-War, you will pretty much never ever have to 4-shot somebody unless you're trying to shoot all the way across the entire map, in which case you're using the weapon inappropriately anyway, so it doesn't matter. Headshot multiplier is 1.1x, which is the same on most weapons in this game. There are a few special ones we'll get to later, which means that getting headshots is useless at all ranges. If you get close range headshots, they're 44 damage a pop, which is still 3 shots to kill, or if they're long range headshots, they're 33 damage a pop, which is still 4 shots to kill. So it doesn't really change your shots to kill at any range, which is kind of unfortunate, but I don't think it's that big of a deal because I find it very difficult to get headshots anyway with the Man-O-War. The recoil's kind of funny, it kicks up, and I'm usually just aiming center mass and body. I generally don't get very many headshots with this weapon. Of course, with high caliber, you can dump truck people with headshots, but you can do that with most any weapon anyway. Let's talk about rate of fire. Most of you know the rate of fire is lower. Rate of fire is 515 rounds per minute, which is very slow. This is the slowest firing fully automatic assault rifle. It's behind the KN-44. Of course, the Shiva shoots a little bit slower because it's semi-auto, but the rate of fire is considerably slow. 515 RPM is definitely not fast. It is the slowest, as well it should be if it's going to be high damage, and you would think that would balance out to like a mediocre kind of time to kill or something. Unfortunately, it has a poor close range time to kill, but a good-ish long range time to kill. So close range time to kill, because of the rate of fire and because other guns can also do it in 3 or 4 shots, it's not so great. It's not that amazing, but because it has long range and because it can 3-shot at most any range, it has a good long range time to kill. Other weapons fall off, their ranges are less practical, they're less doable. The Man-O-War does not. The Man-O-War is consistently a challenge rifle. It says, oh, you have an M8? Well, don't worry, I have a Man-O-War, I can fight you. And it can do a lot of things in a lot of nice situations. Time to kill just isn't really one of them. It's not bad if you're hitting your shots, though. However, the Man-O-War also has a much lower sprint in and out time than other assault rifles, and this is where we're hitting that section of like secret stealth nerfs or things you didn't know about the Man-O-War. But it takes longer both to go from shooting into sprinting, and more importantly, it takes longer to go from sprinting to pop back up and go to shooting than it does for other assault rifles. With HVK-30, we talked about it being faster. This one's the other way around. It just recovers from sprinting slower, which means it is a terrible weapon for snap aiming or for running and gunning. It is just miserable at running and gunning, and we're not even done because it has the slowest aim down sight time in the assault rifle class at 300 milliseconds. This is very much so not ideal, and it even compounds on top of the slow in and out sprint times. This is the slowest in class. It is even slower than the Shiva, which is slower than average. Standard is 250 milliseconds. This one is 300 milliseconds, so it has the aim down sights time of a light machine gun or maybe a sniper rifle or something like that. Very much so ideal, and makes it even poorer for running and gunning because you're going to be even slower at being able to aim down sights and shoot accurately, so that's going to be very frustrating for you. The Man-O-War also, I'm going to be saying this a lot, has a slower movement speed when aimed down sights than other assault rifles. So you all know that in Call of Duty, when you aim down sights, you move a little bit slower left-right, your strafing speed. Well, all of the assault rifles in the game have the same strafing speed, except the Man-O-War has about a 10 or 15% slower movement speed when aimed down sights than other assault rifles, so we also have this penalty, so you can't kind of corner check with it very well, which is very frustrating. There are other micro-nerfs coming, but we'll talk about a few other factors. Magazine size is 20, extended mags will bump that up to 28. This is significantly lower than what we'll call standard assault rifles. Standard would be 30, so you have less rounds in the magazine. Another frustrating nerf, I don't think that the iron sights are very good. I know some people like them, some people can use them, but like some people can use those old M60 iron sights. Some people are just crazy, but I feel that optics are a must on this gun, especially the fact that it's not really geared toward close range. It's much more so a long-range challenge rifle. Optics make it way more useful because the iron sights are in no way useful at the range at which this weapon best performs. The recoil is high, but it's mostly predictable. Like, you probably expected me to kind of poo-poo on the recoil here. Yes, it kicks up a lot. Yes, it has one of the higher recoils in the assault rifle class. I'm aware of that, but I find it to be mostly predictable and not that problematic. Like, it's pretty consistently up, so I feel that I can easily correct the recoil, and that's not such a big problem. Another problem it does have is that it has wider than average assault rifle hipfire spread. Most of the assault rifles have the same hipfire spread in Black Ops 3. This one is wider than average, so it's worse at hip firing than other assault rifles. On top of the already slow, rate of fire and all that, hipfire kills are really not a good idea on the Man-O-War, which is unfortunate. And you can start already seeing all these little micro nerfs are starting to pile up. Movement speed is standard at 95%, thankfully. That standard across assault rifles, standard for the Man-O-War. I'd probably start crying at this point if it got bumped down to 90 or 80 or something like that. Reload time is 2.23 seconds, which is the slowest in the assault rifle class. That is tied for the Shiva. The Shiva reloads in the exact same speed, but those two are tied for slowest. So another area where it's slow. Pretty much all the handling stats are doo-doo on this gun. It has the same wall penetration factor as all of the other assault rifles and most of the other submachine guns, so it's pretty easy to wall bang with, especially with FMJ or something like that. And because it generally deals high damage, it's easier than some other guns to wall bang with, because you're already dealing high damage going into the wall, so the reduction is not as significant. Now we're getting near the end of the episode, and I'm going to talk about my opinions on this gun. You've heard a lot of negative things so far, but they were very objective and fact-oriented. As much as, this gun was awesome and god tier in the beta, I feel that it was maybe overused or overplayed in the beta, and Vonderhaar broke out that nerf hammer just a little too hard, or somebody got a little too creative, and it just took way too many micro nerfs to be as great as it once was. Like, the Man-O-War was on the cusp of greatness, of being a legendary assault rifle, one that people would talk about for ages. Like, 4 CODs from now, I'm like, what gun was great? And they'd be like, what, Grandpa? And you'd be like, the Man-O-War in Black Ops 3 was fantastic. I don't know, I'm making stuff up at this point. But all those little micro nerfs, the slower rate of fire, the recoil being a little high, the slightly worse aim down sight time, the slightly worse strafe speed, the slightly worse sprint in and out time, the slightly worse everything, just kind of makes it not very viable, or not as viable as it once was. Also, they changed the recoil, the flinch mechanics, and the Man-O-War used to be a flinch gun, so it messed people up. So this one, it doesn't do that anymore either. So it was almost great, but now it's not so much. It's kind of held back. I do think it's still an amazing defensive weapon, and by defensing, I pretty much mean camper. Like, if you want to camp with this weapon, if you want to sit in a window, if you want to play still, if you want to play conservative, if you want to hold people back, yeah, it's pretty amazing at that, but a lot of guns are good at that. And to get the most bang for your buck, I don't recommend the Man-O-War. I wouldn't recommend it for competitive. It's okay in pubs. A lot of things are okay in pubs. But if you want to play really hard, if you want to go hard, if you want a fast killing, easy to use, awesome weapon, the Man-O-War just isn't it. It's held back by way too many little things. But if you want to camp, if you want to be a little butt munch and sit in a window and pretend to be a potted plant all game, yeah, it's great at that. You can definitely do that. When it comes to recommended classes, my best class is, I still run long barrel on it, even though it has fantastic range. That just makes it 3 shots forever. Optics are essential. Quick draw and fast hands stacked together will help mitigate some of the downsides of those slower handling, and surprisingly rapid fire. I know rapid fire is only 6% improvement, and that's not a lot, but the rate of fire is abysmal, and at this point I'm hedging almost any advantage that I can get to decrease that time to kill, and in my experience, playing with rapid fire really wasn't that bad. Like, it seemed to do work, so I would recommend using it. Probably the most expendable of all of these attachments, but the Man of War definitely does need a lot of attachments to be effective. Guys, that is all for this episode of In Depth. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. The previous episode was on my top 5 specialists. The next episode I have to keep top secret for now because it's going to be a crazy one. Drifter out.